And we're back at RSAC Conference 2025, broadcasting at the Cyber Risk TV booth, which is in Broadcast Alley at Moscone West. The place is crowded. This is the first full day. Things are opening up. The vendor floor is opening up. And we're really good at suppressing the background noise. So hopefully you're enjoying all of this live and without interruption. I am the co-host of Paul Security Weekly, Jeff Mann, and our chat this session is with Rami Saas. He is the CEO of a company called Men.io. Rami, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you liking RSA so far? I'm sorry, RSAC.
All right, yeah.
Rebranding.
It's my 10th time.
Okay.
So it's pretty good. You know, I like it here. I like San Francisco. I like meeting all these people. That's like a special opportunity to get to meet in person.
Right. Do you guys have a booth in the
Oh, we do, yeah.
South Hall or North Hall?
South.
Okay. I will be over there this afternoon. I'll have to make sure I stop by.
Come say hi.
How did you get your start in cybersecurity?
Actually, right out of college, I was hired by the person who today is my partner and co-founder.
Oh, wow.
In his previous company, as an engineer, software engineer, just fresh out of college. And that company was doing something called role management, which is like a niche of identity management.
Okay.
It was later acquired by CA. So
back in those days.
Yeah, almost by random chance, right? It's just liked working with this person, Ron Ryman, who I still work with, and we're great friends. And that was the company. That what it was doing.
Okay. So what made you decide to go off and start your own company? What issues did you see that you wanted to solve or do better?
Yeah, that company, when it was acquired, had to produce a very detailed report of all the open source dependencies we were using, which we didn't have. So during the due diligence, the most stressful part was fully dedicated. The entire development team was just doing research online, trying to figure out the dependency of dependencies, and document them to produce the report.
Sounds a lot like an SBOM.
It is. That term didn't exist back then.
Right.
But yes, essentially it was an SBOM. And then just by blind luck, there were no major issues. And we presented the report and it was accepted and transaction happened. But it did seem like a big risk, not just for us, for any company doing application development and trying to do something with itself, whether it's raise money or get acquired or oftentimes even sell to a large enterprise that would do some scrutiny on you.
Sure.
And there was no decent way to do it. Everything was extremely manual, very laborious, very time consuming. Okay. So we said, okay, this looks like a big gap in the market. And we got back together again. So the founders of that company and myself came together and founded.
So how long ago did this happen? That
This was 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to this. About when was the term SBOM coined? Seems like only in the last 5 years or so?
No, probably longer, maybe like 8-9 years,
8-9?
I think,
Okay.
give or take.
Well, there's that blur of COVID in the middle that
Right, yeah.
screws up my clock anyway.
Right.
But it sounds like you were sort of an early purveyor of doing the SBOM, just getting your arms around all that stuff that you have in your code that nobody knows about.
Yeah. So broader than just SBOM, this notion of software composition analysis didn't exist before us, right? So you could say we were the pioneers of SCA.
We can say that.
Yeah, okay. And then, to some extent we were ahead of our time, but in a bad way, right? We were doing it before anyone really cared.
Right.
And took us a few years before it got any
magic
traction.
square for you.
No.
Time, right?
For 4 years we were toughing it out on ourselves, no funding, just hacking it until Heartbleed. Basically, if you remember that, back in 2015, started raising awareness to this problem, and then shell shock, and then a whole host of other
There's
vulnerabilities.
a wave of them right in that time.
Yeah, and that turned the table for us, and then we really started creating a real business with customers with need, and were able to solve the need for them and provide real value, and raise money and start growing the company and make it a real business.
Unfortunately, that tends to be a truth in our industry, if we call it that people don't really get it until something really bad happens. And then all of a sudden, hey, this is something that we should take seriously.
Right.
So fast forward 14 years, what does Mend have today? What are you offering?
So over the last several years, we've been expanding our offering all the time, and we currently provide a very comprehensive, complete application security platform that includes all aspects of the technology stack that people develop. So it includes the code itself, open source, containers, operating systems, and recently we've added AI components that go into, right, yeah.
We have to talk AI.
Yeah, we have to. It's mandatory.
That's right.
So increasingly over the past, let's say, year, we've seen more and more of our enterprise customers start to pull in AI components and bake them into the applications that they are developing.
Gotcha.
It's similar to the way open source is being used, but it's not identical.
Right.
And we noticed that existing tools, existing security tools, do not apply. Right, so if a developer is now grabbing a model or a RAG or an agent or something, a notebook, and putting that in their application, and you then scan that application with existing tools for SCA and SAST or any other tools, you're not going to get any results. So we started developing a new platform, a new service to identify security vulnerabilities in those open source components.
Gotcha.
And actually, going back to SBOM, what we very quickly found is that most of the time, enterprise organizations have zero visibility into what's going on in their applications. And so, before doing any kind of security analysis, you actually need to SBOM your AI. In the AI space, it's usually referred to as shadow AI discovery.
Gotcha.
Right? So there's a lot of shadow AI.
Right.
Shadow in the sense that, if you're an enterprise organization and you have, let's say, 5,000 developers working for you, many of them will be randomly pulling AI components and putting them into their software. But if you are the headquarters, right? If you're the DevOps person, security, application security, compliance people, they don't know that's going on.
Right.
So very commonly, I had dozens of these conversations with our customers. I would go in, talk to the people that we talk to, the DevOps people, and ask them, okay, how many AI applications do you develop? And they would say 10, 15. And then we run a super basic shallow scan and find 200, 300. Right? And fine, granted, most of them are not like production level applications, and some of them are just sandbox applications that developers play around with, but still, there's no visibility.
Sure.
So the first priority is discovery, right? Shed light on all that shadow AI.
Right.
So that's like the first basic functionality of our new AI offering. And then analysis. Okay, you found all your AI SBOM. Analyze all these components. Try and figure out if they have any vulnerabilities or issues that you should be worried about.
Right.
And then finally, the third level is remediation, right? So, okay, we identify the components, we analyze them, we found some issues, now let's help you fix them, right? Because many people, I'll let you in a little secret, they are not AI experts. Yeah, there's very little AI experts in the world, right? This is a very brand new kind of technology and topic, and it's only been around at scale for a year or two.
Right.
So many people wouldn't really know what to do with it, okay? So imagine
just even from last year RSA, where AI was the hot topic, but it was much more hypothetical.
Right.
What's going to happen in the future conversations? Whereas this year already, more companies are coming in with, no, we actually have a strategy, plan, implementation, use for AI, rather than just the sky is falling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So best estimates we've seen and surveys we've run indicate that maybe 0.5%, maybe less of applications have AI in them.
Okay.
Right? But
wait a week.
Commonly, these would be like the most innovative, the strategic applications of organizations and the things that they care very deeply about.
Right.
So it is happening, still like super early days, but it is becoming a real thing, and there are more and more AI applications going out to the world.
Out of curiosity, in my day job, I do assessment work, so I talk to a lot of different companies, a lot of different DevOps teams, developer teams. Um, they've always been notorious for not following policy and rules and sort of being off somewhere doing whatever they have to do to develop because they got deadlines and they got performance measurements. And usually, in my experience, they're the notorious defenders for downloading things and using things open source, back when open source was policy not to use it, to just whatever it takes for them to get their job done, which is obviously now extending into the shadow AI.
Right.
Um, is there a way to prevent from a policy, from a procedure perspective, to train developers in the right way of introducing AI into their projects, if for no other reason so that it's known about? Or is that a hopeless pie in the sky ideal?
I think, systemically, maybe yes, and training and education and enablement is always good, right? I would never tell you not to educate people. Sure, let's do that and help developers have a better understanding on both the value of AI technology, but maybe the risks or things that they should be aware of and be mindful of when they choose which AI component to use and how to use it, definitely. But I don't think you can rely on that as an organization to protect you long term.
I would agree with that, because I mean the rules have been in place since the beginning on what not to download and the right way to do things.
Right.
And it
what we
doesn't
find
often work.
Sure. So what we find does work is this approach we call manage by exception.
Okay.
So from the developer point of view, they don't need to be concerned about anything unless something bad is happening.
Okay.
Right? So there's very often a tendency for security tools to flood you with alerts and tell you about all these things that most of them you have nothing to do about, right? If you're an individual developer, you don't need to know about all the vulnerabilities in the application that were got there by some other developer doing something, or some by malfunction, or some open source, or something that you were not involved with, you didn't make the decision for. So it works much better if we only tell you about the very specific cases that you are directly responsible for, and we do it in a timing that is convenient for you, right? It's not a context switch, and it's not in the middle of you trying to accomplish something else that's important to you, that creates value for your application, but rather in some kind of a process that's already in line with, doing a pull request, doing a commit, doing a push, doing some code review. That's the right time to surface security issues, one at a time, make it like easy to consume and resolve, and have an orchestrated system sort of behind the scenes that's being managed by the security professionals to drive the right, prioritization and triage of, what vulnerabilities does the organization even care about, right? Because if you find 10,000 vulnerabilities, most of them are not that important, probably. So you need to find the right one. So we do a lot of...
So you're perhaps opening a can of worms here, and we don't have much time left, but how does Mend approach risk classification or severity?
Sure.
Do you contribute to that to help customers make that decision of what do we care about?
Yeah, very much. So in the past year, we've been rolling out our ASPM system, against security posture management, and we very early on have made a decision to allow our policies, prioritization policies, to be based on timed SLAs. Meaning you have a lot of different criteria to choose from to define the risk level of a specific vulnerability. So severity, exploitability, reachability, context, what the application is, etc., etc. And then tailor the policy to say, okay, if it's a high severity, reachable vulnerability in this repository, I need it taken care of within 72 hours.
Right.
If it's medium severity, it's not reachable, maybe 30 days. And then we have this cadence of, a daily check to see, okay, what needs to happen today,
Gotcha.
right? And then that helps you both prioritize and manage the risk reduction in an orderly manner that, helps you get real progress.
Which is huge because there's so many vulnerabilities out there today, and we talk about this on the show all the time. Just the sheer amount of vulnerabilities, and they're going up. They're not going down, and just how hard it is for companies to deal with using the traditional methods, the traditional CVSS score, mediums and above, criticals, highs. We have to get them fixed this high. And it's elusive. So the idea of prioritization is absolutely pragmatic, but companies are still fumbling with how to do that effectively. Personally, I think they should figure it out, but obviously there needs to be a reliance on tools and experts to do it for them.
Right.
Which is what I'm hearing you bring to the table and offer them.
Right, yeah. We make it very easy for them to set up their policies.
Yep.
And decide what's critical for them and what the timeline needs to be, then automate the rest of the workflow.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time today explaining the unique problem that you discovered ahead of the game and how you're solving it for customers today. That's going to wrap us for this time. This is Rami Saas from Mend.io. If you want to learn more about his company and his platform, go to securityweekly.com/mend, RSAC. And of course, for all the coverage, go to securityweekly.com/RSAC. Thanks again, Rami, for being on the show.
Thank you. This is great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.